You're listening to NIL Now, a podcast dedicated to the name, image, and likeness of today's college and high school athletes.
So we're going to explore the crazy and wildly interesting world of name, image, and likeness.
NIL Now, covering the latest sports business headlines and keeping you informed on the nation's top performers. This is NIL Now, where the stars of tomorrow are getting noticed today.
It's the Wild Wild West, but we're wrangling it in.
Presented by Headline Studio and Reddit. Here are your hosts, Lauren Sisler and Kevin Jones.
And we are off and running with episode 2 of NIL Now, a production of Headline Studio and Reddit. And we're so glad you can join us as we explore the crazy and wildly interesting world of name, image, and likeness, six-figure brand deals, endless transfer portal, and an evolving landscape for college athletics. I'm Lauren Sisler, sideline reporter for ESPN. I'm your host alongside former Virginia Tech football All-American Kevin Jones. KJ, what is up? How you doing today, my friend?
What's up? It's a great day. Always a good day to be on here with you. So let's get into it.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. You became my new BFF overnight. What's up? Little Hokie love, little Virginia Tech action, little Blacksburg. We love it. All right, so let's dive in. Let's dive into this weekly podcast. We'll start things off with some of the top NIL news and headlines, and then we're going to bring in some of our partners from Reddit, Bobak, who helps run our CFB, the home of college football on Reddit. And then our third and final segment will feature an athlete, coach, agent, or business owner that is immersed in the NIL space for some insight. And today we'll be joined by none other, Rayquan Smith, the King of NIL. We'll tell you how he got coined the King of NIL. It's pretty impressive to see how many deals he's gotten, upwards of 70. So we look forward to having him on the show here in a little bit. But first, let's jump into some of those headlines, Kevin, shall we?
NIL headlines.
First and foremost, NCAA issues new NIL rules for schools. Okay, so NCAA issued new NIL governance for its member institutions. This was on Wednesday, October 26th, that schools cannot provide financial support to NIL collectives. They can, however, assist in fundraising for that collective. So, for example, a school administrator can appear at a fundraising event. Kevin, first and foremost, just give us a little overview of what a collective is for those that don't quite understand it.
It has a few connotations right now. I think the perfect definition for it out of the book is a group of people coming together for a specific cause and, chasing after that mission. But then I would say in the college athletic space, a collective has been a few different things. One has been a group that collects capital on behalf of, I would say, the university and then, or the athletic department to then, have support for athletics or the athletes for NIL deals. And then you have a collective from a standpoint of companies that are sports marketing representation agencies. So I think those are the two sides, like from both ends of the spectrum, that you can kind of ping as a collective. But now they're even calling collectives. They're putting some of those terms on them and saying that they're boosters, right? So once you have this booster term attached to your company or your business, now you fall under a set of booster rules. So you have to kind of know which one and be very clear what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting because I have very much heard the word collective as booster, and it seems like it's like people funneling in money, basically boosters funneling in money into this collective in which they're able to, quote unquote, pay players. And, as we talked about in the first episode, there is a big significant difference because you are actually receiving something in return, not just paying the player, but actually receiving a service from that. So it's important to be clear on that. Still some stuff we're trying to navigate here. Now, another thing that's worth pointing out in this new ruling, the ruling states that schools cannot offer free contract review sessions for athletes, but the institutions can provide student athletes with informational sessions about financial literacy and the role of NIL collectives. And I think this is a really interesting thing of note. And I think, we talked about this a little bit before as well. And, as a former athlete, the idea of the financial piece of this, the financial literacy piece. I know that this is something being around Nick Saban talked about. Hey, you're going to get paid now. Guess what? You got to pay taxes. So we're trying to inform our players of what all this means in the financial space and how this all works, specifically. And so how important do you think it is for these players to have this knowledge when they get into the NIL space and start collecting paychecks, to be prepared for what that means ultimately in their bank accounts?
Absolutely. I think it's probably one of the most significant parts of all of this. when the athletes are now getting money that they didn't get as a high school student, or a lot of athletes hadn't even really worked in high school. Their work and their time has been put in training to get to college and ultimately probably professional sports. So being able to expose them to these type of things at this level is paramount. Now that guys and gals are getting checks in college, you also have to pay taxes. So, some institutions, maybe some collectives are trying to set that up themselves where the school doesn't even have to do that. But where they can, have a negotiation with the player. So when they get their check, they can automatically withhold their taxes out of that. So, but it has to be trust there. There has to be some transparency. Collectives and the people that work in those collectives sometimes have conversations with the parents to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So I think that it's definitely important though. You gotta have that piece in there, the financial literacy piece.
All right, Kevin. So you own and operate Triumph NIL, curating opportunities for student athletes at Virginia Tech. How do you think new legislation like this factors into the opportunities that you've created as of now? Is this something that really affects you all? Are you seeing a big, change?
It does affect us, but I think it affects us in a positive note. I think a lot of collectives and companies that have been like a part of this third-party situation in between the athletes and athletic department, or the athletes and the local businesses or national businesses, have been wondering if a lot of this was going to just come in-house, to the university. And obviously, as a collective or as a sports marketing agency, I'm kind of against that. I think that there needs to be some neutrality here where the student athletes can lean on somebody who's kind of been there, done it before, but that's not also like a part of the university or the athletic department. They don't have to worry about is mom or dad looking over, what's going on with every little move that you make. And also, I would say the athletic departments don't have the time to really manage, these athletes, their personal brands one-on-one, and can really dive into that. They don't have the time and space for that. So for us, some of the legislations where they're saying that, that the athletic department or someone in an administrator role can help with fundraising or point people in a certain direction, that's hinting to saying that these collectives and collegiate sports marketing agencies are going to be around, because they're kind of carving out a space to where they're, where we're needed and wanted.
That's interesting. Very interesting insight to just see how legislation, because I do think that, the word I keep hearing is guardrails, right? How do you put guardrails up? And I think that, it's kind of that free market. And now how do you sort of rein it in and make it neutral? You use the word neutrality there. I think that's very important and very key, especially for, ownership and what you're trying to do and create a positive space for these student athletes to operate in. So good stuff there. All right, headline number 2. Pac-12 Commissioner George Kliavkoff voices his displeasure with NIL once again. So this was at Pac-12 Basketball Media Day last week. George had said he's still not happy with where NIL is today, specifically pointing to it being used as a way to pay kids to go to a school. Kliavkoff pushed for federal legislation on the issue so that all schools would follow the same set of rules. He said, not happy with it being used for inducement for paying kids to go to a particular school. I think the solution is federal legislation, so we have a single set of rules that are equally enforced across the entire country, as opposed to a patchwork of some state laws and lots of states with no laws. So Kevin, what's your take on this? And I feel like this is an opinion that's being voiced by many. I feel like we've got a very mixed bag of opinions on how this NIL thing is working, especially from people that are kind of in the higher up ranks, the ones that are sort of seeing, I guess maybe the pieces fall. What is your take on sort of how you could find this federal legislation that would make sense for everyone?
It's funny to hear the different powers that be within the situation outwardly voice their opinion, but I think it's also a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. There needs to be guardrails for sure and enforced, but I do think that, we're still in the era of figuring it out all together. I hate for it to be politicized, but, obviously someone needs to, or some power that be needs to put some rules in place that everybody needs to, I would say, follow equally. I would just say hold your horses on that. It's happening.
Hold your horses.
We need to, people are, it's so many different dynamics. people like to call us the Wild Wild West, and I like to say we're wranglers of the Wild Wild West. Well, we're reporting the Wild Wild West here on this show, but I think that it's a fun space right now. I don't think people should be angry about the space. I think that, you know, we're in the second year of it, and we need to see like what types of rules need to be in place. So, you know, how are you going to enforce all these the different rules? So I think that as long as the legislation talks about, you know, what you can and what you can't do, that they keep collectives out there, being able to kind of have some type of separation from, you know, the university, but still be aligned with what the university is trying to do, you know, things will be fine. You just need to let it play out a little while longer, I think.
Hold your horses. I like that.
Hold your horses.
Hold your horses, okay? All right, so I guess before we jump to the third and final headline that I'm most excited about, I have to admit, I'm trying to hold my horses here, okay? You know, he mentioned specifically student athletes as employees. Do you consider student athletes as employees now with the existence of NIL? Is that your take on it? Is that your perspective?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think people are overblowing this situation. A lot of the branding deals and the marketing and the personal brands and all that type of thing, use athletes being able to use their name, image and likeness to make capital. I think that they're not employees. That doesn't make you an employee. If I'm a NFL player playing for a specific team and my marketing agency goes out and get me capital for my name, image, and likeness, deals on that doesn't make me an employee. It's just that, you know, I'm an influencer. I'm a person of interest that people want to associate with, and I can get paid now for doing that. They're going to make me open up a can of worms and start asking questions like, okay, Nike, you're supporting this program, or, you know, like Virginia Tech is a Nike school, or just think about all the other Nike schools that are out there. Now the athletes aren't seeing any money off of that. So let's have a real conversation about all the other things that are happening, not just about who's getting paid to go where and things like that. Like, no one is talking about the big Power 5 schools or Nike, Under Armour, Reebok, Adidas, any of the big time brands that are supporting these or have these schools as clients. Those are all like apparel deals and money that goes to the university, but the athletes aren't seeing any of those monies, and you know that it's name, image, and likeness all over that. So don't get me started about this little these little comments about, you know, oh, this player's inducement and this, that, and the third. Talk about the big deals that's happening that no one's talking about. But we'll save that for another segment. I'll hold off for the next segment when we talk about that.
So Kevin, you're gonna hold your horses for a hot minute.
I'm gonna hold my horses because I'm getting hype about this little political stuff that everybody wants it to go to the government so the government can make some legislation about it. But we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that. All right, this third segment, I definitely want to bring in our producer Dean on this because I think this is a great conversation and something fun. So I'm gonna have Dean jump in on this too because this is really funny. And so I think hopefully people can Google search this as we're talking about this. Colorado offensive lineman Tommy Brown becomes college football's first professional underwear model. So just take that headline and envision for a moment what this could look like and what this could be. An offensive lineman, underwear model. Actually, I should say underwear supermodel. Not even just a model, supermodel, okay?
Well, when you 6'7", 330, you got to be super.
That is so true. You got to be pretty super, right?
You got to be
super.
So
I love what he said. So he signed the NIL deal with Shinesty, okay? And he'll appear in the company's new fashion campaign to be shared on digital and social media. Brown modeled for Shinesty in August. The new deal is an updated agreement that makes him the actual underwear model for the company going forward. So underwear model, and I think this is probably the best part. He quotes, "When you have a body this good, you deserve to be paid. As a college football player, I'm already used to millions of people seeing me in my pants that leave nothing to the imagination. So I might as well make some money while I'm at it, right?" I mean, he does make a pretty darn good point when you think about it. I mean, you're already kind of in your underwear running around out there on the field as it is.
I think it's awesome.
I ain't lying.
It is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the quote is really what makes it. It's players get to do stuff that kind of matches their personality and things that they want to do. We would have never known this about, Tommy Brown had he not had the opportunity to sign with, an underwear brand. So, to see the creativity and the pictures are hysterical. He's posted stuff on Twitter it's just awesome stuff. That makes college football, that makes college sports better when you see, funny stuff like that.
So when you click on the picture, so Tommy Brown tweeted it out. Like he's sitting here with like a jackhammer, little craftsman thing going on here. Quite interesting, getting after it. And then the ballet one, I think, got me right there.
The ballet one.
I mean,
tuxedo.
What in the heck?
Tuxedo crotch. What is going on?
That is a sight to behold. But I love that he's embracing it, man.
To me, this is the type of stuff that leads to other modeling gigs or like even TV. Like he looks like a comedian or actor.
Are you thinking of like Kenny Powers or something like that?
Yeah, perfect. Eastbound and down.
Kenny Powers, yeah.
But no, this is perfect because he could, this could lead to, like I said, some TV spots because he's showing his personality. That doesn't make you an employee of the university. Like this is something where a company wants to, pay you for your talent or pay you for your entertainment.
Pay you for your entertainment and your sheer beauty, right?
Your sheer beauty.
Your sheer beauty. I love, Brown, he's an Alabama transfer. Now this deal, undisclosed money. I'd be curious to know how much he's making on this deal. The company offers underwear up to size 5XL. And what I love about this too is like, I feel like the entertainment industry and, the modeling world, as we've seen a lot of documentaries and a lot of things come out, you and I, Kevin, a little bit on the older spectrum, Dean, not so much, but things have changed quite a bit. And I think that this is definitely playing into the inclusion part, right? Because why do you have to be a, stick thin supermodel or some GQ guy with like an 8-pack of abs to model underwear? Because truth be told, yeah, you might get people walking down the street and they see this big ad for this dude that's rocking 8-pack abs. I don't know if y'all, Dean and Kevin, would necessarily turn an eye to it. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. I don't know.
We're turning eyes to it because it's popping. It's like, I don't know how to describe it.
Washboard abs right there. But like something like this, to me, almost caters to more people. Like I think this is going to pop more people's eyeballs and attention and be like, what's up with this? And just be like,
sure.
Like, what am I seeing right now? Oh, that's really funny. I love that. So I think it's cool. He's embracing it. I think it's fun to see. And
you mentioned the undisclosed amount of cash. The company said that they paid him a big heaping pile of cash. So they're obviously very fun too. And that's just, awesome that, these athletes can find these companies that, then they match up well with. And you're right. I would definitely, that would catch my eyeballs if I saw an underwear model of his size. It's just, how could you not look,
How could you not look? Okay.
How could you not look?
I think we're going to put a big bow on this segment right there because that is the phrase of the day. How could you not look?
NIL headlines.
And we're back with Bobak here on episode 2. Bobak helps run RCFB, the home of college football on Reddit, as well as at Reddit CFB on Twitter. All right, so Bobak, you've got the pulse on the NIL world under the Reddit umbrella. First off, before we kind of dive into one of today's top topics, what have you enjoyed most about pulling the curtains back here on this NIL space?
Mostly I would say the fun the players are having with some of these deals, because this is an opportunity to get into stuff they love, stuff they enjoy. And for a lot of these companies, it's fun to bring the players into it, especially those that enjoy the products they're having. Because that's always the thing, right? You don't want to hear a player go out there and advertise something where they're kind of half-hearted about. You want something they're really interested in. And those opportunities for, be it a restaurant or, I'm sure all of them love cars, so we'll set that one aside. But,
yes.
All these kinds of products, it's been fun for them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting different products that people are kind of getting their hands on. So here's an interesting one that came through. So UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson just inked a deal with the video game developer Activision promoting Crash Bandicoot 4. That's Crash Bandicoot 4. We're on the 4th one. It's about time. And I am not even going to pretend I know anything about the video game. So, Kevin, I'm going to defer to you on this. Do you know who Crash Bandicoot is?
Yeah, I know about the brown dog Crash Bandicoot. But I'm much more of a Sonic the Hedgehog fan, though.
Yes,
if we want
me
to go
too.
back to some type of doggish cat thingy that moves. I don't know.
Yeah, so is there no correlation? Because when I looked this whole Bandicoot thing up, and I was doing a little research, like, is there any correlation? I was like, is this a spinoff of Sonic the Hedgehog? Is this like a brother? Is there any correlation whatsoever?
I can't tell. I mean, he's running around all these different worlds and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if it's a correlation, but I'm definitely a Sonic guy.
I know. I mean, Sega Genesis, what's up?
Sega. Oh, wait, that's a shameless plug. We can't plug Sega. That's brainwashed into our heads, that Sega. They need to come back.
I love it. So Bobak, I guess just kind of when you look at this deal, I know this is one that's kind of taken the NIL world. Watching the commercial, which by the way is comical. I guess he did a TikTok video, and Crash Bandicoot actually like comes out in this like, I mean, it's him in a costume suit, like a real person in a suit, and it's kind of comical. So talk to me a little bit about how the Reddit fans are taken to this one.
The sheer silliness of it makes people react to it. It's done pretty amateurly. Like, I gotta say, like, it reminds me of stuff when people would quote unquote go into a video game in like 1994, you know, when you'd watch a TV show and look, we're in a video game and it's clearly on the screen. And I mean, they leaned into it.
Okay. You know what it takes me back to? I'm going to stop you here because I just have to get this out. Do you guys remember the Saved by the Bell episode when, Mario Lopez, he had the lizard and the pet lizard, and he had to, and I'm going way back, so some of my people might not know what I'm talking about, but he had the pet lizard named Artie, and he like dressed up like Artie, and he was in the costume. Like, that's exactly what this reminds me of. 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, carry on.
And I was thinking some of the old shows on Nickelodeon, you know, where they say like it's supposed to be a video game show, but you kind of, as a person who played video games, you're like, this is pretty. I don't know, KJ, if you remember games like that, but those were, or shows like that, but those were a lot in the 90s. That were totally trying to.
I was in the know in the 90s.
In the know in the 90s.
I still think it's a cool deal though, like that game company decided to actually do something like this. It's, you know, obviously it's made our list and we're talking about it, you know, so I think it's kind of cool.
I think it was great that they made a part of their announcement that he actually plays the game and enjoys it. It makes sense because the game actually came out like 2 years ago. So I guess I think the reason they're doing it again is that it's getting some kind of re-release and some sort of higher resolution from what people were saying in the Reddit thread. But it got people sort of talking about, you know, funny ideas for other players potentially being in games. You know, someone said like a Penn State fan, they were really having fun with it. They were like, we cannot wait for my Sean Clifford operator skin to use in Modern Warfare 2 next month, you know. Yeah, the jokes that were great. Like there's this one guy, oh gosh, this one user, Wookiee steak is chewy. When you equip him, sometimes his player accuracy is 100%, and sometimes it's 20% with bullets flying over the heads of the other guys for no reason. You know, another person, you know, said your character will be in game for a long time and generally be well respected, but no one will ever be sure if he's actually very good. But
that's good. Yeah.
I think, you know, it's funny because also, you know, for some of the players like Thompson Robinson, he's been playing for so long that another running gag was, did he play the original Crash Bandicoot or was he?
When was the original? Do we know the original when that was, the date, like the year?
Yeah, it was, gosh, I want to say it was 96.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, when I first heard that, I was like, am I reading this correctly?
I'm looking it up right now. So Thompson Robinson was born in 99.
So it was before he was born.
Yeah, so it was before he was born. But, you know, and first of all, we call him DTR. That's the nickname. It's interesting because actually when I was talking to him, I just had UCLA this past week, and we got to sit down and talk with DTR. Very impressive young man, by the way. And so it doesn't shock me, that he went in the video game world, because one thing that he actually took on recently was the game of chess. And so it's actually something that they brought in this chess master, and that Coach Kelly brought in a chess master. And so a few years ago, the team and really DTR took on chess as like his main thing. It used to be like something he cared nothing about, but then they get so competitive, and he's super competitive, and they compete with each other virtually on the chessboard. But then we're also talking about the video game. So I can definitely see where he would just go all in on competing with his teammates in a game like this. And the whole costume thing, I think what could have made that commercial even better is if he would have dressed up as Bandicoot, you know, like maybe that could be the next episode.
Some folks were disappointed he wasn't in the game. Make him a playable alternative character or something.
They could have had at least a jersey number or something on the character.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, that nowadays that's probably like an easy code that you just jump in there and change it up hot minute.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're already doing an NIL deal. You're paying them for it already. So hindsight is 2020. Maybe their next deal will have a character in the game, or we can get the Reddit team to kind of do a petition.
One of the things that's got some of the fans excited, especially those from Tennessee and UCLA, is, seeing the Volunteers in the top 5 and a new Crash Bandicoot game. It really is the 90s. So for both of those teams, this is like a flashback back to when they were great.
Hey, and I'm all for it because I was born in the 80s. Look, we're going to go ahead and age ourselves. KJ and I were talking about this before we started filming this podcast a few weeks ago, how we line up in very much our pop culture references. I'm an 84 baby.
I like how you just like subtly told my age too, because you just.
I did. So I was born in 84. I believe KJ was born in, am I right? 82?
You are semi. No,
83?
You're correct.
83? 82? Which one is it?
82.
See, you just didn't want to be older than me. So, but I do love it because it's like you get to sort of have the new school, old school. But I still go back to my old Nintendo days, Tecmo Bowl. Come on, man. Tecmo Bowl and Tetris and Mario and all those games. So I don't know if I can get on board with the Bandicoot, but hey, maybe it's something we need to try out at some point in time, y'all. Okay.
Well, Bandicoot goes well with that twang you got.
Bandicoot.
You said just right.
Bandicoot. Bandicoot, because that's cute. What's up? All right, this thing's going off the rails. Bobak, thank you so much. We appreciate it. This is going to be a fun segment, so y'all stick with us on this week in and week out. We'll have Bobak on here to just talk about some of the headlines on Reddit. And so if you Reddit folks out there that are tuning in, you guys want to maybe get some street cred, some love, send out some cool messages. Maybe we'll pull them for you and have them on the show. So we appreciate you, Bobak. Go have some fun today. I know you got some other pressing news to get to, and we'll catch you next week.
Always. You guys have a great one.
You're listening to NIL Now.
All right, now as we roll into our third and final segment, we've got a special guest on with us today. He has earned the title King of NIL, and his name, Rayquan Smith, former FCS football player, now a decathlete at Norfolk State. Super excited for you to join us as you have signed a lot of NIL deals. You have a good idea of how this whole NIL deal space works. And so we're going to provide a lot of insight for us today, hopefully. And Rayquan, first and foremost, I got to ask you, how does one earn the title King of NIL?
How does one earn? Basically, just going over and beyond, take a lot of risks. That's what I did. I took a lot of risks myself. I believed in myself more than other people probably did. And that's probably how you could get the name. I'm a hustler. I'm a risk taker too. So, and I want to be successful. So that's really it.
Yeah, no, to be king of NIL and to garner, how many deals do you have? Over 70? How many is it?
77 right now.
77 deals. That's ridiculous, bro. So like, how do you do that? Like, give us the process. Walk us through how, other athletes could possibly, do that for themselves.
Okay, so in the beginning, when it first started, I didn't know too much about it. All I knew is that you could get deals from companies. I knew that I wasn't gonna get one deal $1 million. Let's cut it out. I go to a smaller school, so now I'm trying to figure out, okay, what can I do to get to $1 million? And my ultimate goal was to get a lot of deals to equal out the same much money as them. So that was my ultimate goal. So I just wrote a format, said what school I go to, who I am, what sport I play, and sent it out to 100 companies. I woke up, only 3 companies responded back, 2 rejections. 1 was approved by Smart Cups, and that was my first deal. Then once I got that deal, now I'm trying to figure out, okay, who else can I get, how far can I go, and what's next for me. So after that, I signed with an agent probably like 13 days later. Freddie Berry, and once I saw him, me and him we went over we want to do our goals, for the remaining year of 2021, and our next goals for 2022. And I guess we're meeting the goals, so we're doing what we wanted to do.
What's the goals?
What's the goals?
Yeah.
To be the best, to outdo everybody. People think that we're the smallest school, we can't get what Power Fives get, but I proved differently. I showed that we can. So we just out here trying to prove people differently that we could do at a smaller school.
That's awesome, man. Being able to, kind of take it in your own hands and be consistent and diligent with, reaching out to these companies. How are you finding, or what companies are you reaching out to? I mean, you said Smart Cups was one of them, and you got over 77 deals. Like, how are you finding these companies? Is it something that you're following on Instagram? Yeah, just give us some insight on how you at least find the companies to reach out. Never mind them saying yes, but just like give us some insight on that.
So in the beginning, I was on. So there's like websites, well not websites, but they're companies that helps you get NIL deals. So like I was on Market Price, Mogul, Open Doors, 98 Strong, Icon Source. I was on different websites just help you get NIL deals, help you push your brand out to different companies to help you get NIL deals. And so I was doing that at first to get my platform more, to build my portfolio. And once I built my portfolio and build my name for myself, then I went on my own and looked at, I won't say smaller companies, but like big companies, but not that big yet. So that's when I started reaching out to them, emailing them, and DMing them. And they did the vice versa. They'll DM me or email my agent to work with me.
Amazing, man. I just think kudos to you and your team for, going after it as hard as you are and hitting the pavement. I think that's amazing. More athletes should, do that for themselves or get the team around them that can help them do that. But, like you said, it's their strength in numbers.
Yeah, and I love that you didn't just wait for these deals to come to you, because as you mentioned, you're from a smaller school. You're not going to have all the headlines of maybe what a starting player might have at one of these top 10 ranked schools or an FBS program. But, you've kind of really taken the reins and made a story for yourself. Your story unique in and of itself. You stopped playing football after tearing a ligament in your foot during the 2021 season. Then you went on to join the track team there at Norfolk State as a decathlete. And you've just kind of taken the reins there. I also love that you became the first HBCU athlete to sign a deal with East Bay, which is a really cool moment, and obviously an opportunity to highlight East Bay, which is obviously a very prominent sports company there. Just a unique story. I guess I would say, what's sort of your message to people out there that feel like maybe they're going to miss the boat because they're not the starting quarterback of the football team, or maybe they're the scout team quarterback, or maybe, they're someone that just sort of is in the shadows of the team, very much part of the team, but they don't get that notoriety or recognition that some of the other players do. What would you say to those people? What's your message to those people and those athletes that feel that they want a piece of this pie, but they just don't know how to achieve that?
The first thing I would tell them is, you don't got to be the starter to get NIL deals. You don't got to be the best player on the team. You don't got to play. It depends how you market yourself. How do you reach out to brands? How do you market yourself outside of your sports? You could be on the bench and still get a lot of NIL deals. It don't matter your performance play. It depends on how you market yourself to different companies, how they see it off your social media, because your social media is the sales. Your playing time is really not attracting the sales. Your marketing is the sales. So I would just let them know, like, don't worry about how much PT you get in, how much time you playing. If you focus on marketing yourself outside of football or outside any sport you play, then you'll be good, because that has nothing to do with your NIL deals.
Wow, that's a great perspective. I mean, if you think about influencers who are non-athletes, what these businesses really want is an influencer, someone who's going to connect to their customer base. So that's a really good point that I think a lot of people need to hear.
And being able to do that on such a broad spectrum, of course, you said 77 NIL deals right now. I imagine that list will continue to grow. I want to bring in our producer, Dean, real quick. He's got a good question that he wants to ask you.
Rayquan, for how many deals you have, do you maybe have a favorite of the NIL deals that you've inked, or a favorite thing that you've worked on?
I get this question a lot, and I'm always going to say the same answer, and that will be all 77 deals. All of my favorite. I like all of them because they all take a chance on me. So I don't really have a favorite, but I say all of my favorite because they all want to work with me. So That's my answer.
Good answer. You know, that's the way you got to answer it, because obviously every company is unique in its own way. And, you know, it took something special, or it took something inside of you to realize, like, okay, you get 2 rejection letters. So you send out these 3 emails, you get 2 rejection letters. A lot of people be like, man, like, this is going to be an uphill battle. This is going to be tough. At what point did you realize that you could be successful through NIL, despite going to maybe a smaller school, despite being, you know, in what some people, you know, you might not be in the headlines, or you might not be in a top tier sport where it's garnering all the headlines every week that gets all the media coverage that other ones do. So when did you realize that you could be successful at NIL? Like, when did that kind of light bulb go off for you?
I know what I'm capable of. I know that when I do something, I'm gonna do it. Like, there's nothing gonna stop me from doing it, because that's all I want to do. If I want to do something, I'm gonna do it, regardless how long it takes, how much work I got to put in. Like, I'm gonna do it because I want to do it. So when it first started, you know, I'm like, okay, don't go as much as I want to, just because I'm at a smaller school. So now my mom like, okay, do I gotta go to a bigger school for this? Like, can I do it from this school? So now I'm trying to figure out what can I do. And I just said, look, man, I'm just gonna keep pushing out to companies. And once I kept getting companies, I'm now pushing the companies out. When I get the deals, I'm pushing out to different news articles, different PR, so they could publish it about it, so I could draw more attention to me instead of the bigger time athletes. So then once I doing that, I start getting more deals, push out to more news articles, and keep doing it. So now I'm getting a lot of attention on me. They're trying to figure out who was this person from NSU. How is he getting all these deals? How you doing this, all that? And for all I'm doing is just getting a deal, send it to a news people, publish it. Press release. I'm trying to get my name out there as much as possible, so people can notice the name. People can know who NSU is, because a lot of people don't know who NSU is. And just trying to get my name out there and trying to make my audience bigger than it is now.
So Rayquan, with all the different momentums and things that you have, I know you hurt your foot. Was it a Liz Frank fracture?
Yes, it
I had
was.
that same injury. It's one of the hardest injuries to come back from. So kudos to you on that, on your, you know, shifting that to, you know, track and field. So what's next for you? You know, what's your plan after college? Like, where do you go next? Like, what are you studying? Do you plan on doing anything with studying? Is it marketing? Is it branding? Is it NIL guru? Like, what's next for you?
I will be graduating in the summer. In June, I will be going to grad school. I will have 2 years left for eligibility left, and I will be playing football somewhere else, so I can finish out my dream. My dream is still play NFL, and that's what I'm gonna do. You know, that injury, you know, it takes a lot out of me. You really got to take care of it. You got to really know when to get off it, and get back on it. You got to know when to be on it, know when to do it, because like, it hurts time to time. It's always gonna hurt. It's a permanent injury, so it's gonna hurt regardless. So I just gotta know how to make sure I can take care of it, so I can play on the next level. Even if it's like for 2 or 3 years, I'm on the next level at least. You know, I don't know how long my foot gonna keep going, but I'm gonna keep going until it falls off. That's what I told myself.
No, you're not. we gotta talk about that offline. But yeah, I don't know if you know, but I played football in the NFL for 7 years, and I was a running back. So we could talk offline about that and give you some advice about that foot. But what you're doing in the NIL space is amazing. And I think that, you know, this is an example of how people pivot, you know, and keep going and not necessarily just fall off the map because of an injury. So, you know, you're an example for a lot of people. So kudos to you, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Rayquan, thank you so much for your insight. Love to hear it. Love to see all the deals. I think you need to have like a ticker or some sort on your social media that shows how many deals you've inked. You have over 70, but I love to see that ticker just go up and up. So maybe we can cheer you on when you hit 100. Let's get Rayquan to 100 deals. Let's go. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Rayquan, great stuff. Best of luck to you with your career. We'll be on the lookout for you. And I think KJ's got a few words for you on the side here.
Hi.
All right, folks, that is a wrap on episode 2 of NIL Now. A big thank you again to our guest, Rayquan Smith, the King of NIL, for joining us today. We so appreciate you. You can find him on Twitter at rsmith24_ and at Rayquan Smith on Instagram. Follow us at NIL Now Show on Instagram and Twitter as well. Or you can find us on Reddit, and that is the r reddit.com/NIL. You all know how that is, my Reddit friends. So tell a friend, let us know what you think about the show. Find next week's episode out wherever you listen to your podcast. Again, thank you to Bobak Hayeri and the Reddit college football team for their help. You can follow them at Reddit CFB on Twitter and online at Reddit College Football Channel. And, I'm Lauren Sisler, my co-host, Kevin Jones. You guys are awesome. Also, a big thanks to our audio engineer, Colin Schmaling, our associate producer, Dean Zolkowski, and our executive producers, Richard Diamond, Selena Roberts, and Scott Broder. We'll talk to you next week, guys. See you later on NIL Now.
Thanks for listening to NIL Now, presented by Headline Studio and Reddit.